Hello, everyone, and good day. This is the Tiba Academy, and if this is your first time of joining us, I'll please like to encourage you to subscribe to our channel and like this video and share. You could share on your social media platforms, but ensure you like our videos. If you like what we are posting and it has been of benefit, of use to you, we would be very glad to see your likes. That will encourage us to keep posting content similar to what you like. That means that is what you would want us to talk about. Okay, so for the students who are currently in the academy, we are at the second batch of our students who are taking interpretation classes. We have had a lot of questions, but some certain questions have been recurring, so I decided to address them in this video. Okay, so the first one is, what are the career prospects for an upcoming interpreter? The career prospects are very broad. Surprisingly, the field of interpretation is still very scanty. We don't have so many people. In Africa, especially in Nigeria, let me speak about Nigeria because this is where I work. I'm in Nigeria. I'm a Nigerian, and this is my work base at the moment. We have very, very few women, very few females in the field. And I don't know why. While in Europe, in the UN, and foreign missions, we have more women, than men. So I don't know what is happening. Why the women are not, are not pushing. So in the UN and other UN offices, the UN office in Geneva, and there are other 4 offices, one in Ethiopia, one in Geneva, and then in Nairobi. They every year they organize interpreter exams. Every year they have new intakes. So the need for interpreters has increased with the rising global crisis, in the economy, in politics, and diplomacy. A lot of issues have come up between countries and people that needs interpretation. And interpreters are in high demand in lots of international organizations. Now, for other organizations, other wings of the UN, they take their exams maybe 3 times, 4 times, every 3 or 4 years rather, instead of every year. We also have the African Union and ECOWAS. I, for one, I have worked with the ECOWAS Commission, though on freelance basis, of course, and with the African Union and the UNISDR. So I've had first-hand experience while I was a trainee with some of these organizations to see what is really going on in the interpretation units. I see the same faces almost every time, and most of them are maybe from 40, 50 years upwards. So we hardly have young people. I don't know why young people are not encouraged to take this profession. Maybe because it's very demanding to learn. I can see a lot of people are struggling to learn the consistency of practicing. One of the things that discourages a lot of young people is the fact that you have to practice every day. Like every day. Most of the time, you might have to give in as much as 1 hour of practice every day. And consistency is something that is not common among the class of young people that we have now. Most people just want to do a training, finish the training, and start using that training or start working, and don't touch anything that has to do with that training again, or the knowledge base in that field again. And this is not a place where you can try that. That's interpretation, a place you can just learn and just stop, because new information are coming in, new expressions are coming in, new words are being formed. You can see the dictionaries that we have, like the Oxford Dictionary, Longman Dictionary, so that every year they have new editions, and those new editions, they have new words that have been coined by different people from different countries that have entered into the English language. So you'll be having some of these expressions you have to learn in the languages you are translating in. Most of the time, even in your source language, you see some new expressions that you've never heard before. So you have to be somebody who has a flair for learning new things, somebody who is motivated by learning new things. If you don't have the natural motivation or you're not naturally curious, it's going to be a demanding field and maybe even boring for most people. On that question, I've received from some students is, how do you cope with the speed? Well, in interpretation, currently the speed is even more than before. It has increased. So you are now, even if you are an old interpreter, you have to now grapple with the speed of new people who are coming into the field, new people who are saying new things. And when you're having some of these conferences, time limits are given to speakers. So most people have a lot of words, like a very large assemblage of speeches they want to cover. Maybe they have like 5 minutes to cover about 20 pages of a speech. Of course, this person is going to be almost running. So most of the time they even forget that it's not machines that are interpreting, that it's human beings that are interpreting. So they forget and they start running while you are now running after them. So for you to catch up with them, you have to start practicing to catch up with the speed. Of course, we have classes for that, for people who want to work on their interpretation skills and improve their speed. Yes, we have classes for you. And if you're just starting in, you might have to consider starting with learning the speed as part of your learning process. Okay, another question we have is the fear that devices will replace people in this field in interpreting. I think that question or that fear should be focused more with translation, because with the involvement of AI and certain software that we use to do our work, translation is almost like the walk in the park. Now, translators are mostly like revisers. You just use maybe Memrise, or you use what's it called again? Some of this software that we use to work. Maybe Google Translate. If you want to use CAT tools, you use them, and like Trados. If you use Trados, for example, when you use them, you just discover that you just have to edit just one or two things to get the translation to come out perfectly, or you need to just format the document properly to get everything to come out the way you want it. Unlike in the past where we had to get big dictionaries. I remember when I got my first dictionary in 2009. I only used a dictionary for maybe a year. The following year, I found out that the company created a soft copy of the dictionary online. I bought it for about 28,000 naira, and I bought some books that had registers that I needed to memorize. I didn't even use it for more than 6 to 7 months before I found out that there were sites where I could get this information without having to open a book. Because if you are working and you are using a book to check the meaning of certain expressions, it slows you down. So for translation, yes, with time, we might not really need translators as much, but for interpretation, there is still a need for the human factor. AI is good, but AI cannot interpret expressions and certain nuances that come in when you are interpreting. So interpreters are still needed to interpret and help people understand each other in the field. For example, if you are listening to a Russian interpreter or a Russian speaker, or a speaker from some of these Muslim countries, most of the time they're talking about their own, they can get very emotional. And when you are interpreting, you are supposed to convey all of that. Or maybe you are interpreting for a delegation, and it seems like some of the participants are carried away by emotion and are using expressions that could cause maybe a conflict, maybe between countries. It is your role as the interpreter sometimes to step in and just try to interpret just what the person may have intended to say and not what the person ended up saying out of emotion. These are things that AI may not be able to do in a few years' time, like maybe 10 years, 20 years. They still have a lot, maybe some time to work on this to now maybe replace humans. So for those who are scared that, oh, if I get into this field, maybe after training myself for some years and I'm good enough, then I might not be needed. Like the fact that maybe accountants are not in so much high demand because accounting softwares have come in to replace them. No, it's not really like that yet. Okay. On that question is, how often do we practice? During the time of my explanation, I know I must have mentioned that you need to practice every day. You can start from as small as 5 minutes to as much as 15 minutes and gradually work up to 1 hour every day. Practice, of course, makes perfection. Without practicing, you start to lose your words and expressions. And it's also good that you have a glossary of terms and expressions in the niche where you find yourself. You practice and learn with them always. Let your brain get accustomed to knowing those words automatically. Then another thing is how do you work with speakers who speak very fast? This is on that question I got from one student. Yes, you just have to try and catch up with them. That's just the truth. Because most delegates don't even know that interpreters exist, or they're interpreting their speech is being interpreted by somebody. Some of them don't know. They think it's a computer or a robot that is doing it. Because when you're interpreting, you're actually hidden from the audience. You are in a booth. Most times you are high up in a booth and nobody is seeing you, or you are behind the conference hall hidden in a booth. You are seeing the delegates, but they can't see you even when they are looking at your direction, so they do not know. Sometimes though, they might need to intervene and say, oh, please, can you slow down a bit? People are interpreting and they need to just slow down and take it one step at a time. Sometimes in cases where certain information might be lost because of their speed, or because they are running too fast, they are reading their speech, they're not even saying it out. Yes, but usually you don't even expect that. You just prepare yourself and ensure that you are able to meet up with the speed that is required for that program. And I would like to add this, that sometimes you might not be given the notes or the speeches to prepare ahead, because usually you need some time, a few days, a week before the event, to see the speeches, know what you're going to interpret, who you interpret for and what conference, and you will just be given maybe a few hours. Oh, please, we need you to interpret for a conference tomorrow, and you just see yourself there interpreting something you don't even know about. So this means you have to read wide, get to know what is happening in the news, keep abreast of what is the latest, so that when it comes up, you are not 100% lost. You should be able to find some way to pass on the message from what you are hearing. All right, so I hope this session has been an enlightening one for you, as it has been for me. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe our content. And if you wish to join the Academy, we are open for registration every session. We have a session running in August, and we'll be glad to have you in our class. You could call, the numbers are scrolling on the screen. Call or send an email to Primal Languages or to Tiba Academy, and would, of course, respond to you. And I remain your coach. As we end this session, I remain your coach, Sally Usaitin Hikwaba, and see you in our next session. I hope to see you, okay? Bye for now.